All right, I think I'm live here and I've got this going. Okay, so what I've done with this, I'm gonna try and keep this kind of simple as best I can, but I'm gonna try and explain why it is that some businesses are doing better than others and why a lot of small businesses unfortunately are doomed. And it's going to be a currency issue. It's of course going to have to do with money, and it's just kind of how it is, and it's just an action reaction kind of thing. But in this video it'll be a little boring, but I'm unfortunately, like, this kind of content, it isn't exciting, or so just bear with me. All right, so on this corner here we've got Awesome Burger. I'm going to use three different burger places to give you an idea of what it is that we're seeing currently in the marketplace. Okay, and remember, this isn't to scale, but this is just so that you have an idea of what you're seeing, because I find that a lot of people aren't being taught any of this. Like, nobody understands any of this stuff, so I want to try and explain this as best I can. So on one corner we've got Awesome Burger, on the other corner we've got OK Burger, and we've got Burger Douche on this corner. And this being America, that's not uncommon to find, burger places every 25 feet. So, let's discuss Awesome Burger. Awesome Burger pays a lease for or rent, and is probably in a strip mall more than likely, they're fairly new to the marketplace, but they sell really awesome burgers. Okay. So they've got this locked down. They make great food. They're fairly new. They're paying rent, and it's constantly increasing. It's just how it works, because the rents and the costs keep going up. Plus, they're paying their triple net, and all those costs keep going up for Awesome Burger. Okay, and so this is going to be Awesome Burger. So let's just say established in 2020. Okay, I mean, like, right, who would open a restaurant in 2020? But you get the idea. So anyway, fairly new. Okay, and then we're going to have OK Burger. OK Burger established in 1987, and they've got an OK Burger. Let me explain this operation here. In 1987, somebody who decided they wanted to open up OK Burger went to a bank and said, hey, I want to buy this corner lot, and I want to put my burger place here. Okay, I want to build my building and have my parking lot and so on. And the bank back in 1987 said, well, sure. Do you have any property? And of course, what happened with the owner of OK Burger was he said, well, yeah, I mean, my dad, who when he came back from the war, he bought some hunting property out in out in Tomball or wherever, and so he's got like 90 acres of hunting property out there, and the bank said, okay, no problem at all, we can go ahead and do this deal for you. Just go ahead and use this land that's over here as your collateral, and we'll give you some money, and you can start OK Burger. And that really is the advantage. So there's this idea that goes through people's minds, when they see things like, especially when they see the gurus, because, and I can't say enough bad stuff about the gurus out there. Most gurus won't tell you the truth of how they actually started with a lot of this stuff. Most of the things that the gurus started with, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find out they started with money somewhere. Somebody left them some money, somebody left them some property, they fell into something. It would be like if you came to my class where I told you how to win the lottery. Like, yeah, look, see, you pick 5 numbers and then you pick the Powerball and see, Shazam, you win like me. Like, that's, yeah, like, you wouldn't pay for that class, right? I mean, I would strongly advise you against paying somebody to go to their class at the airport Marriott to learn how to win the lottery. You're just going to spend a lot of money, and you're not really going to get anything out of it. So anyway, so OK Burger is started this way, and they have an OK Burger, right? It's okay. Burger Douche. Burger Douche established in let's go 1955. And Burger Douche, they're not really in the burger business. They're in just sort of the real estate business. They're just in the acquisition business. That's really all they're doing. The burgers are just a thing that they have their franchisees make, and the franchisees make a little bit of money. They're kind of glorified managers at that point, and they produce fast food. The word food is debatable on this, but they, you know, they're everywhere, and you know, they've got a huge marketing campaign and so on. And well, how did they start? Well, they started back in the day, you know, back when you could go into a bank and you could talk to the bank, you know, like the average person could go into a bank and talk to the bank president and say, hey, I've got an idea for a business model. You pull together the principals, and I'm going to have a meeting, I'm going to do this presentation, and then when I'm done the presentation, you guys are going to give me a big check, and then I'm going to go out and, you know, do all this. That was the kind of stuff you could do back then. That doesn't exist anymore. Now, can Awesome Burger do this? Could they do the same thing today? Right? It's 2023 right now, as of the time of this recording. Could Awesome Burger do this today? Well, of course they could, assuming that they could find a bank that was willing to play ball with them. It's not going to happen. You know, they're not going to do this. Like, well, but how much would it cost if you wanted to pay cash, right? So you could say, well, people could save their money and then they could start their business. Like, okay, what would it cost for you to buy a corner, build a building, put all your restaurant equipment in there, and do all of that to start your business? Depending on where you are in this country, it could range from anywhere from $1 million to $2 million build out to with your dirt, on up to $5 to even maybe $8 million to do your build out with your dirt. So, and that's assuming, by the way, you could find a giant multinational mega corporation that typically owns all these corners, willing to sell it to you. And of course, when they sell it to you, they're going to sell it to you at an exorbitant, huge number. It's not going to be, you know, $2 a foot kind of thing. It's going to be way more than that. So, so could they do it? Now, yeah, but the question would be, like, this is a reality thing. What happens is that if you had $8 million to start your Awesome Burger, would you start an Awesome Burger with $8 million? If you had, like, think about it this way: if you had $8 million, you would just probably go do what you want to do. You would probably just go, you know, go travel. You would, you know, you buy maybe a nice house. You'd buy, yeah, I don't know, you probably wouldn't buy a Bugatti, but you probably would go do other stuff, right? You would have nice things, and you would go and just live your life the way you wanted to live your life for the most part. You could live pretty much the rest of your days, assuming that you didn't blow all your money, and assuming that the dollar, because we're pricing this in dollars, I'm doing this in dollars for easy translation here. But assuming that the dollar didn't collapse and become the worthless garbage that it is today, but assuming it was, like, let's say that it was as good as it was in, say, 2019, right? So it was the same thing, and then all of a sudden there was, like, whatever inflation was got, like, fixed forever in 2019, and it never changed. Well, then, yeah, you could probably live the rest of your life. So, be that as it may. So, Awesome Burger's costs are going to be constantly increasing. This is, by the way, this is by design. The rent seeker class that are out there, they're trying, they're trying to destroy the small businesses. They don't want small businesses. Most rent seekers don't want to have small businesses in their strip malls, because small businesses tend to go under, right? They tend to not succeed, right? I mean, something like 98% don't make it past a year, right? It's a huge number. So what they want is large businesses. What they want is $6 to come in and, you know, and dominate the corner. You know, we've all seen them, right? We've all seen the strip malls. You know what they look like, right? They've got all these bays here, right? And it's all the usual suspects. You know, $6 is here, and then, you know, then there's a dentist office, and then there's a foot massage place here, and then there's maybe a teriyaki place. You know, I mean, it's the usual suspects, and most all of them, you know, like Panda Express or something like that. It's all the usual big giant mega you know, companies that are out there, maybe with the exception of the foot massage place, foot spa. But a lot of them are all the same, and that's why you're seeing, when you could go almost anywhere in the country, and you'll see these strip malls, and They're sort of the Soviet-style planned obsolescence type strip mall, and you're going to find out that, I mean, they all pretty much look alike. They've all got a PetSmart, they've all got a Target, they've all... It's this homogenization that's happening, and it's squeezing out all the small competitors. Now you can say, like, well, this is the challenge that I have with most of the people on the right who are still applying free market. You're still attempting to apply free market principles to a captured, controlled fiat economy. You are making a spectacular mistake. You're not only making a mistake, you're making, how can I put this nicely? You're making like a rookie mistake. If your economy is captured, right, then free market principles don't work. Right? I'm all about free markets. I'm the most free market guy there is. I'm not even judging all you people out there who are evil. Go ahead and be evil for all I care. I'm not even judging you for this. I'm not judging the adulterers. I'm not judging, you know, the poly people. I'm not judging. I don't care what color your hair is. I don't care how much shit you have in your face. I don't care if you're covered head to toe, you know, in ink and you look like a character from a Ray Bradbury novel. I don't care. I'm not judging any of this. I'm telling you that your economy has been captured and you have to stop applying free market principles to it. You have to stop doing that. You're just torturing everybody else by doing this. And to people who understand what they're looking at, like, you're making a fool of yourself by doing this. And it's why the arguments go back and forth. Remember, we got to go back here. We talked about this. We got, you know, this. You have to go back this far to fix things. All right, you have to fix the money first. And you're going to go all the way back here. Then all of this changes. But if you're applying free market principles down here, I can't help you. You're just going to be perpetuating nonsense, and it's not going to work long term. You're just going to have nothing but problems. So this is where you get the OK Burger situation. So OK Burger, well, who owns OK Burger? Some boomer. And this is where the boomers will say things like, well, no, you don't understand. I mean, it's just hard work and sacrifice. And they say these little platitudes like this. It isn't because they can't do math. Well, some of them can't do math. But it isn't because they can't do math in most cases. In most cases, it's because for them, like, that worked for them. If they go, if some boomer goes down to, you know, after 30 years in business and what have you, and they've got some land over here that they leverage, and now it's all paid off, you know, now it's, you know, 25, this stuff's all paid off probably 10 years ago. Everything's owned lock, stock, and outright. Well, then when they go to the bank and they say, well, give me $1 million, I need to do this, and the bank just, no problem. You know, here you go, because you've got $4 million worth of assets, you know, on the books. So they look at that and go, no problem. Can a brand new person do that? No. Well, but they're young people who do it all the time. And they usually get help from their parents. They usually get help from somebody who has a bunch of assets. They usually, somewhere, there's usually money involved beforehand. I have yet to ever see a bank, ever, find somebody who actually, or somebody goes to a bank with a legitimately good idea and has a pile of experience. I have a shit ton of experience, personally. Real world, on the ground experience. And I know what I'm talking about all this. I have yet to find any bank that will ever finance any of that stuff. No, they won't do it. They will not do it. And it's largely because nowadays, there's also the other side of that, is that a lot of banks are invested heavily in the giant chains here, you know, the burger douches. Well, if you're already invested heavily in this, how motivated are you to invest in this? Right? I mean, you're not terribly motivated to do that. Because if this is tried and true and government subsidized and everything, and if there's any problems, they can go run to Congress and say, give me a bailout, and they'll do it because, you know, they're the, you know, it's Congress. There aren't even people there. It's not even human beings that operate there. So to say that they're NPCs is me being kind. Anyway, so this situation here is kind of a lock, right? So why would they deviate from this? No, in fact, actually, they're better. What their idea is, if they're heavily invested in like Burger Douche and things like that, is to get rid of Awesome Burger, right? So Awesome Burger, it doesn't make any difference how good their food is. Their food could be this could be like Gordon Ramsay level, what the hell is it, like 27 Michelin star, restaurant. It doesn't make any difference. They don't stand a chance against either side of this. Now, ultimately, and that's because of where the food comes from, right? Most times, where does Awesome Burger get their stuff from? Well, they have to order it from a food supplier. Let's put them up here. Food supplier. I'm not going to say any names, but there's only you can look them up. There's only a few. There's not very many. They're nationwide for the most part, and there's 2 or 3 that are pretty much the big thing, and they control all of the ingredients that go into food, okay? And so they've got to order from these guys here. But who owns all this? This is food supply, okay? Well, who owns stock in food supply? Well, that would be Burgerdouche. And every successive company that's a part of it, which is all owned by the same 5 or 6 hedge funds that own all of this stuff. Again, how motivated are... Now, when push comes to shove, right, in the real world, when push comes to shove, who do you think is going to get protected if the economy starts to do what it's doing right now? Who do you think is going to get protected first? These guys. Every time. Every time. And the reason being is because if you get shot, right, what does your body do? First thing that happens, it goes into shock. Assuming you survive the bullet, it goes into shock, right? What does it do immediately when that happens? The brain sends signals, the spinal column sends signals to the brain that you are severely injured, like mortally wounded. The brain then tells the rest of the body, shut everything down. Everything stops. No more hair growth, no more nail growth, nothing. Everything, nothing. Stop processing food, stop doing everything. Evacuate the bowels, clean everything out for the most part, and then shut everything down, that's, all the extremities out and everything, and protect what? Vitals. Every single time. That is exactly how your body operates. It's going to protect your brain, it's going to protect your heart, your liver, your lungs. It's going to protect the stuff that keeps you alive, right? Burgerdouche is I don't know, the colon or something. Anyway, so that's how this is going to work. So these guys, that doesn't mean that they can't succeed. No, it doesn't mean they can't succeed. It just means that they're going to work insanely harder. And unfortunately, they're not going to be able to keep up the inflation, because what's going to happen is that Awesome Burger is going to end up having to charge $10 a burger. But then in 2022, they're going to have to charge $12 a burger. In 2023, it's going to be $15 a burger. And on and on and on. Burgerdouche is going to be the same, they're going to come up much, much slower by percentage. And the reason they're going to come up slower is because, remember, they're getting everything at a significantly lower cost, number one. But number two, they also have something called economy of scale. Okay, economy of scale just means they can buy everything. And in a lot of cases, and I'm using Burgerdouche, I'm leaving a whole bunch out. A lot of these companies are vertically integrated. And they own their own, they own their own tomato fields. They own the farms, the big corporate mega farms that produce their food and so on. So for them, it's like, it is kind of farm to table, only it's not, because it's like, well, I have never gone into a Burgerdouche, any one of the top 5 Burgerdouches in this country, and looked at the meat patty and thought that looked like ground chuck. I mean, none of us have. I mean, it's just reality. It's like, it doesn't have the same type of texture and everything. It just, so I understand, I'm not picking on all of this, but I'm pointing out that the way this stuff operates, okay, it's not a level playing field. The capitalist idea, I hesitate to use, by the way, the word capitalist, because that word means different things to different people. Just like communist, socialist, capitalist, those words all mean different things to different people. You have to look at actions. You can't, there's a mistake that people are making where they're using words and they think that when they use those words, that those words go into someone else's ears and have the same meaning. And that's just not true. So I hesitate. So for lack of a better term, how much time have I got? For lack of a better term, I'm going to use the capitalist perspective, which is, well, no, they started off too, and then they grew their business, and they're like, it is and it isn't. It's not exactly the same thing, because if it were the same thing, that means that everything that these guys could do, then these guys could do. And it's just not the case in the practical sense anymore, because of the devaluation of the currency, and because also of the consolidation of banking. Okay, there was a time in this country's history where there were tens of thousands of individual little banks, right? You know, little community banks and what have you, and they were everywhere, and they were individually owned. We talked about this, I think, in like 2-3 videos ago. It's been a while. It's been like 2 months since I've done this, but because I'm busy, I have shit to do. But what happened was, there used to be thousands and thousands and thousands of little banks, and they were all in competition with each other. And the goal for the banks, when they were in competition with one another, was to get the best deals, right? They wanted to make sure that the community was getting loans so the community could grow. But they had to also compete to make sure that they were that the people they were lending to, especially for their businesses, that they knew what they were doing, and that they understood what they were getting themselves involved in. And that you also wanted to make sure that they had a stake in it. Now, I don't mean a stake as in, like, they had money in the deal, because you didn't necessarily have to have a lot of money in the deal. It just had to be that you had to bring to the table a lot of experience. And if you brought a lot of experience, then that actually counted. That used to count for something. It doesn't count for anything now. Now you just get a degree in whatever and pretend you know what the hell you're doing, apparently. Anyway, so what would happen is that they would be willing to loan these guys a lot more money, and they could grow faster. And again, back then, you had smaller banks. Now, you can't even get a person on a phone in a lot of cases in most of the big banks anymore, and it's just that's just getting worse. And so, are they on the same playing field? They're really not. It's not the same thing. So the food supply company, which of course is, you know, kicking back all the money and everything, and these guys are all, what happens is it becomes a closed system, right? Just like banking, it becomes a closed system. If you don't believe me, go try and start a bank. Go try start one tomorrow morning. Why not? Why not today? Why put off till tomorrow what you could do right now? Go start a bank today. Go try it out and see what's involved. It's about as hard as trying to start a radio station. You know, I've looked into that too. It's near impossible to do this stuff, and it's deliberately made so because they don't want any more competitors in the marketplace, because they're trying to protect vitals, okay, which is, you know, Burger Douche and all of its you know, accoutrements and so on. Now let's come back to OK Burger here. Why can OK Burger stay in business? Because their costs are fixed, right? Let's say you have a mortgage, right? Let's say that back in '87 they had a mortgage, and let's say it was $2,500 a month, right? Total. And that was, you know, for the build out, that was for everything, it was about $2,500 a month. Because remember, costs were a little lower. So, well, that means it's the same $2,500 a month every single month for however many years, you know, for usually 25 years. Their costs become static in a lot of cases. I'm not talking about their taxes and triple net. I'm not talking about, like, you know, the parking lot maintenance that went up. I'm not talking about the dumpster fee that got increased by 25%. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about their large costs, right, became fixed. They could hang their hat on this number. As long as they didn't have to do a refi or anything like that, they could hang their hat on this number every single month. Once this is paid off, that number goes to zero. Okay, so that means that the costs come down for them. Now, what about Awesome Burger? Awesome Burger, their costs keep going up to infinity and beyond. And the reason that is because, well, they'll just keep raising the rents. The rent seekers out there, the people who went to the you know, to the airport Marriott seminars, wanting to learn how to, you know, get rich in real estate and all that stupid shit. And for whatever reason, brokers, they look for doctors and dentists. Doctors and dentists apparently are just like the worst people that don't know how to handle money at all. They make a lot of dollars, and then a broker at a cocktail party gets a hold of them and says, hey, I got this deal on a strip mall. I can get you into this strip mall here, and it's going to be awesome. Look at this. I mean, only for $1.8 million for this strip mall. And then the doctor is like, wow, that's a good deal and everything. Not realizing that the broker's brother-in-law bought that strip mall for about 250 grand, you know, a couple of years ago. And the broker now is going to pocket about $1.5 million off that doctor. But because they don't know any better, you know, they buy this, and it may or may not cash flow. It may cash flow, but then you have to have the rents have to be so goddamn high that a lot of people won't even go into them because, well, I mean, it doesn't make any, their numbers don't work. So, and by the way, this stuff all is, you can go do all of this stuff yourself. I challenge anybody to go do all this stuff. Go try it. I've done all of this shit, and I'm telling you, this is what ends up actually happening in the real world. This is field research. And by the way, I should be charging people to learn this stuff, not because I want to charge you for anything. I'm doing this as basically for lack of a better term, a tithe. I'm doing this just for free, just to help people out so you understand how not to get hosed, all the time. So many young people, none of this stuff is going to be talked about by anybody. I have yet to see anybody talk about this stuff. And it's because usually these kinds of things, they don't want people knowing this stuff. If you know this stuff, then it's harder to take advantage of you. It's like I got into this argument. I got to keep in mind my time. Remember, my camera shuts off every 30 minutes, then I have to redo this whole thing. Anyway, so it's like trying to explain to people like why it is that you would want to be paid in, I'll use Bitcoin as an example. Why you want the company to buy Bitcoin first and then pay you in Bitcoin as opposed to just paying you in dollars and then you buy Bitcoin. There's a reason for that. It's because they can export the inflation to you, right? You're buying something with post-inflation spending power as opposed to making someone else buy a currency. This is why the dollar, for example, when you want to buy oil, you have to buy dollars first, right? It's the petrodollars. Is why you have to buy dollars first. It's to prop up the artificial value of the currency because it's worthless dog shit. So that's why it's done. It's done just exactly like that. So this is why you're seeing these distortions in the marketplace. And this is why, companies like Awesome Burger, they're probably not going to be around too terribly long. I mean, again, some of them can make it for a while if they have a bar. And even then, at a certain point, you're going to run out of your clientele, and you can only raise your prices so much. A lot of business owners right now, this is really the horrible truth of it. A lot of business owners right now, they're making so little money that they don't know what else to do. They're just running the business because they don't really know what else to go and do. What are they going to do? Go work at a company? Well, you got to find a company that's hiring, and companies are laying people off right now. There's a labor surplus. We've already been over this. There is no such thing as a goddamn labor shortage. There is a mammoth surplus, as evidenced by just looking at the amount of wages. Wages are flat or declining. Profit margins for small businesses and contractors and 1099 workers are declining, and I'll go into 1099 in the next video. But this is the kind of thing that's actually happening, and I realize I'm leaving like a pile of stuff out of this. So, I mean, for those of you out there that have a lot of experience and you're like, no, you forgot about this, you forgot about this. Like, dude, I'm leaving a ton of stuff out on purpose because I have to make this somewhat understandable. I'm not a lesson planner. I'm not a teacher by nature. I don't even like doing a lot of this. I have to psych myself up to do this kind of stuff. I'm doing this as a way of trying to explain to the people that are out there who are trying to understand why it is that they're working harder than they've ever worked. They're generating more dollars than they've ever generated. And they're going backward in lifestyle. Like it's not working. Like, man, I'm working constantly. I'm working, full time. I'm working 2 full-time jobs. I've got this going on, and all of my hobbies include like driving Uber. Where I have to make money with my hobby. I can't do a hobby that costs money. I have to make money with my hobby. These kinds of things are happening to a lot of people, and they're trying to figure out why that's happening. They're trying to figure out, like, well, why the hell is it that I'm blowing my brains out trying to get this stuff done, and it's not working. I'm going backward. It's because of this, right? It's because of this relationship here. And the hedge funds and everything else. This is, and it's like, in other words, it's the big mega corporations. Not like the hippie thing. That's the corporations, man. No, it's not like that. Okay, a corporation is a piece of paper. It's a tax filing, for Christ's sake. It's not a building. But it's the idea of using all of this to hide who is actually involved, who's doing all this, because it's the same people. Remember, banks, insurance companies, and government, it is the same people controlling all of this. I hope this makes sense.